안녕하세요. 저는 오늘 웨비나의 사회를 맡은 보안뉴스의 원병철 기자입니다. 바쁘신 나중에도 오늘 웨비나에 참석해주신 여러분께 깊은 감사의 말씀 드립니다. 오늘은 보안산업의 리딩기업 에지오에서 여러분은 다가오는 제로데이 공격에 준비되셨습니까? 라는 주제로 웨비나를 진행합니다. 오늘 이 자리에서 최신 보안 위협에 대해 현황에 대해서 파악하고 새로운 보안 취약점에 대응할 수 있는 방안에 대해서 찾아가셨으면 좋겠습니다. 참관객 여러분들 위해 준비된 경품을 소개해드리겠습니다. 웨비나 종료 후 대면 상담을 신청하시는 분들 중 10분을 추첨해 고급 골프 우산을 드리며 질문해 주시는 분들 중 10분을 추첨해 고급 텀블러를 증정해 드릴 예정입니다. 그리고 마지막으로 웨비나 종료 후 설문조사에 참여해 주신 100분께 스타벅스 모바일 쿠폰을 보내드릴 예정이오니 적극적인 참여를 부탁드립니다. 설문조사 링크는 웨비나 중간중간 채팅창에 남겨드리도록 하겠습니다. 질문은 강연 중 채팅창에 남겨주시거나 이메일로 전달해 주시면 에지오에서 실시간으로 답변을 달아주시거나 별도로 연락을 드리도록 하겠습니다. 경품 이벤트 당첨자분들도 역시 웨비나 종료 후 별도로 연락드리도록 하겠습니다. 그럼 웨비나를 본격적으로 시작하도록 하겠습니다. 먼저 이 자리에 나와주신 에지오의 김혜용 과장님께서 간략하게 에지오의 소개를 해주시고 이후 에지오의 시니어 보안 디렉터인 리차드 유가 현재 보안 현황 및 대처 방안에 대해 소개해드리도록 하겠습니다. 안녕하세요, 과장님.
안녕하세요. 반갑습니다. 저는 에지오에서 마케팅을 담당하고 있는 김혜윤입니다. 오늘 바쁘신 와중에도 웨비나에 참석해주신 여러분께 다시 한번 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 아마 많은 분들께서 저희 에지오라는 회사에 대해 생소하실 수 있으실 텐데요. 간략히 저희 에지오를 소개해드리도록 하겠습니다. 저희 에지오는 작년 6월 CDN 메이저 플레이어였던 라임라이트 네트워크스와 야후의 엣지캐스트 사업부가 합병되면서 새롭게 에지오로 출발하게 되었습니다. 에지오는 여러분의 웹 애플리케이션, 즉 웹사이트와 API 및 모바일 애플리케이션의 보안, 속도 및 신뢰성을 향상시켜주는 가장 완벽한 엣지 지원 보안 솔루션을 제공하고 있는데요. 전 세계 200개 이상의 팝에 걸쳐 분산된 250TB의 네트워크로 업계에서 가장 큰 엣지 네트워크 중 하나를 보유하고 있습니다. 이러한 대규모 분산 엣지 네트워크 덕분에 저희 에지오는 대부분의 엔드 유저분들에게 최소의 지원 시간을 제공할 수 있습니다. 보시는 것처럼 에지오는 상업, 기술, 금융, 미디어, 게임 등 다양한 산업에서 엣지 기술을 활용하여 1200개사 이상의 고객 및 3만 개가 넘는 웹사이트를 지원하고 있습니다. 두 번째로 큰 글로벌 프라이빗 네트워크를 보유하여 글로벌 CDN을 필두로 최신 웹 애플리케이션의 개발 혁신을 이끌어 나가며 보안 산업의 리딩 솔루션을 보급하고 있습니다. 네, 그럼 여기까지는 저희 회사 소개 간략하게 마치도록 하고요. 바로 이어서 에지오의 시니어 보안 프로덕트 디렉터인 리차드의 발표가 이어지겠습니다. 발표 중간중간에 궁금하신 사항이 있으시다면 채팅창에 자유롭게 남겨주세요.
Good day, everyone. Thank you for attending today's webinar. My name is Richard Yu, and I'm a Senior Director of Product Management for Security Solutions at Edgeo. Today, we're going to discuss whether your organization are ready for the next 0 days attack. Here's a high-level agenda of what we're going to cover today. First of all, we're going to review what are some of the latest trends in the security threat landscape in the past few years. We're also going to talk about some of the general best practices and concepts that can help us keep up with the zero-day threat. And finally, we're going to have a deep dive into how Agile solutions can help you respond quickly to the next zero-day security incidents. So, let's take a look at some statistics, right? Security threat landscape has certainly evolved a lot in the past few years. We're now observing an average of 16 DDoS attacks every minute, and that's actually a lot. Security incidents also come with significant financial losses, with an estimation of $6 trillion being lost during cyber attack in 2021 alone. I think this is going to grow to more than $10 trillion by 2025. Over the last 15 years, there's been a report of more than 12,000 data breaches that resulted in $1.8 billion record being exposed. This is very significant considering the world populations during those time. And based on our research, right, on average, every time, whenever a company suffer a data breach, they on average lost more than 8.6% of their total valuations. Of course, this is just an average number, but it shows that the disproportionate impact of data breach compared to the amount of resource an organization generally spend protecting themselves from security or data breach. This data really highlights the importance of security, to make sure that the continued success of a business or an organization. Now, let's take a deeper look at what's been happening on the DDoS front. We observed some of the largest DDoS attack reported histories in the past 2 years alone. As you can see, the data is here. Due to proliferations of IoT devices and high-power botnet, DDoS attacks are only going to grow both in terms of frequency and in terms of size. In this case, the size of DDoS is growing exponentially year over year. And the largest application DDoS attack that I've observed clocking at 26 million requests per second. From a network DDoS perspective, right, the DDoS attacks are now hitting 3.45 or almost 3.5 terabits per second. That's really larger than most website will ever see in terms of real user traffic, right? So it's very important to start looking at, like how to protect yourself from the increase in DDoS attack and what kind of platform to use to really provide the full coverage in terms of application as well as network DDoS attack. So also, when it comes to DDoS attack, especially network DDoS attack, right? It's important to start looking at statistic like million packets per second, because the ability for a network to handle packets is often a bottleneck. And the largest million packets per second DDoS attack that's been reported in a while is 809 Mbps so far, right? And there's no question that these DDoS attacks are only going to grow in size and frequency, along with DDoS ransom attack. From a new security vulnerability front, as you can see here, we look at the data for the past 5 years from 2018 to 2022. And, unsurprisingly, we also see a massive increase in the number of Cve being reported. So what is Cve? Right? Cve stands for Common Vulnerability Exposures, and it's the most common framework for the industries or for organizations to report security vulnerability. As you can see, cyber attacks, the attackers, they don't take a break even when there's COVID around. As you can see, like between 2020 and 2021, the amount of growth in terms of cybersecurity new vulnerability being exposed has doubled, right? Almost double, right? Based on the 2022 data so far, we can conclude that the new vulnerabilities are only going to grow exponentially. And I think we estimate there's going to be more than 25,000 new Cve being reported this year, which is, again, exponential growth compared to last year at between 22%, 25%. So this really highlights the importance of our topic today, right? How do we respond quickly to resolve those new vulnerability, some of which are really some critical 0 days vulnerability. So when it comes to 0 days vulnerability, it used to be a rather rare things with 1 or 2 incidents that impact the entire internet industry. Oftentimes they just happen once or twice a year. However, things has definitely changed. In the last 9 months alone, we have observed multiple critical 0 days security vulnerability impacting a wide range of industry that do business on the internet. Have any of you in the audience actually dealt with Log4j last December? I'm sure a lot of you did. It was probably one of the worst 0 day vulnerability in the past 7 years, and it's impacting so many organizations because of how proliferated Log4j is being used in the industry. It was really a bad timing though, because it's happening in December and it's a holiday seasons for many countries. So you oftentimes can't find enough employees to deal with this kind of 0 days quickly in terms of finding engineers to come and patch your servers, etc. Right? On top of that, right, there's also the famous Spring for Shell as well as the Confluence zero-day vulnerability. Again, some of the most popular framework that's being used by multiple organizations in the industries. And all of this happens in just the last few months, right? So this has become a common occurrence. So how quickly does it take for your organization to resolve this 0 days vulnerability? Does it take you guys days, weeks, or months? I wish we can do a poll here, maybe next time. But it's very important to understand, how quick you can keep up with new 0 days exploit, especially when they're just going to keep coming in an increasing frequency. So now, before we kind of dive into the solutions, let's take a look at the recent survey we did with more than 80 security leaders in various organizations across the broad spectrum of industry vertical. These people are generally CISO, director of security, security architect, and other related security roles. So as expected, the majority of the security leaders want faster resolutions of security incidents. This includes new 0 days exploit. However, what is unexpected to me is that only 36% of them wants greater visibility into attack. Right? So they either already have great visibility, or perhaps people don't understand the importance of having the visibilities. So, when it comes to dealing with attack, you generally need three things. You need preventions, you need detections, and you need response. So when a 0 day attack or exploit is happening, you can throw the prevention out of the windows because it's already too late. The attack is happening. So, when that happens, the visibility is king. You cannot mitigate what you cannot see. This is why it's also very important to have the capability to detect and respond to the attack quickly, not just the preventions. We also see that at least 1/3 of participants wants to focus on removing a vulnerability. It's very important to have the ability to identify whether a vulnerability actually poses a risk to your organization or not, right? Because, like blindly going after every new vulnerability when you don't know if they're a risk to your organizations or not may not be the best use of your resources. So the important question to ask yourself whenever there's a new vulnerability being disclosed is, are they being actively exploited? Do you see them being exploited in your network? And if so, then yes, your business is at risk and you need to be able to respond to those 0 days exploit. So how do we minimize the response time to 0 day attack? I'd like to introduce you to the concept of OODA loop, or I call them ODA loops, which stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. This is a famous concept created by former Air Force Colonel John Boyd. When it comes to dealing with your adversary or your enemy, in this case, is a cyber attack, or the attacker who's your enemy, it's very important to understand that you're constantly going through the OODA loop. It starts with you first observing the vulnerability reported in the wild. Then you orient yourself by gathering data to see if these are being exploited in your network or system. Then based on the data that you gather, you make a decision, you decide on whether and how to mitigate these exploits. And finally, you act on your decision by either through the method of patching your systems, or you update your security rules to mitigate those attack or 0 days exploits. And of course, once you have done that, you pretty much go through the full ODA loops. And guess what? You're gonna have to rinse and repeat the cycles again, continuously for the next attack. Now, this is normal, and the key to success is to actually have the solutions, the capability, and the process to minimize the ODA loop. Because in order to defeat your enemy, you need to have a smaller ODA loop than them. So how can Agile help you minimize your ODA loops and accelerate your response to 0 day attack? Let's take a quick look at the Agile security solutions. Now, Agile offers the most complete edge-enabled security solutions that helps make your web applications. So for example, your website, your API, and your mobile applications, we make them more secure, fast, and reliable. First of all, Agile is one of the largest edge network in the industry with more than 250 terabits per second of network distributed across more than 200 POPs in the world. A massively distributed edge network allows us to have minimal latency to most of the end user. And by having minimal latency to the end user, by being close to the end user, we're also close to the attackers because a lot of the attack actually comes from compromised end user devices. Our network is also PCI DSS level 1 compliant, and we facilitate end-to-end encryptions for all traffic through our network using the latest protocol, such as TLS 1.3 in this case. For network protection perspective, Agile provides full spectrum DDoS protections from network DDoS, so for example, TCP and UDP flood, to application DDoS, such as HTTP flood. We also provide origin shielding to help obscure your network infrastructure from being directly exposed to the internet. So by shielding your origin infrastructures and the IPs from being directly accessible on the internet, we really reduce the attack surface to your applications. We also provide one of the largest high-performance authoritative DNS services. Make sure that we protect your critical infrastructures and we make sure your critical infrastructure stays resilient to attack and maintain 100% uptime of your websites. So when it comes to application security, Agile provides you the most complete web application and API protection solutions in the markets. With our advanced WAF and our unique dual WAF technology, and which is the dual WAF technology is going to be something that we're going to spend some time on and that I'm going to cover later in our presentations. Agile also provides one of the most advanced bot management service that utilizes server-side. And I emphasize the server-side machine learning models that does behavioral modeling to really detect and mitigate any advanced persistent bot. So when it comes to DDoS protections, remember our largest DDoS attack we discussed earlier? So that the 3.5 terabits per second attack. Well, Agile's 250 terabits per second network is more than 70 times larger than the largest DDoS attack that we mentioned earlier. Without any cast network, we're able to spread and distribute the attack across our POPs, and we make sure that there's no impact to your site stability and performance when we do that, right? So in fact, just less than 2 months ago, we actually mitigated a series of persistent network DDoS attack that went up to 355 million packets per second in Europe alone. And this has no impact to the customers that's being attacked at all. And the mitigation happens transparently from a customer's perspective. So this is about 40% as large as the largest DDoS attack reported in terms of the volumes of packets that we show here. All right, so in addition to our DDoS protection services, we also provide high-performance authoritative DNS services to protect your critical infrastructure. Why is this important? It's important to have a high resilient DNS service because there's no amount of advanced protection that'll help you. If your DNS goes down, your user cannot reach your site. Any of the fancy advanced security features is not going to help, right? So it's always important to keep your foundation covered, right? Other than protecting the reliability of your network and web services, Agile also helps reduce the probability of attack to your infrastructure by providing origin shielding to help hide your infrastructures from the internet. So this kind of service helps reduce the number of requests and connection to your network, and it helps reduce the loads and improve the performance of your applications. So I like to always tell people, security is performance, performance is security. By reducing as much of the attack traffic, unnecessary load to your website and your web applications, we're actually making your application faster because you now have more capacity to do more business critical logics. So Agile network protection can work with all types of infrastructures that you're running on your application. It doesn't really matter whether you're using cloud or physical data center, or if you're implementing a hybrid cloud or multi-cloud strategy. So Agile platform is customers platform agnostic, and we can protect all types of origin infrastructures that you're utilizing for your web services. So now let's take a deeper look at our application security solutions. To help protect you against increasing amount of zero-day exploit, Agile provides the most comprehensive multi-layered security solutions. It starts with our proprietary high-performance security engines and our really special layered approach. Each layer is designed to mitigate specific risks and ensure minimal latency. Our advanced access control rules allows you to perform blocking based on IP, geo, AS, and other advanced request parameters. So for example, you can also block based on user agents, cookie, as well as referral, and other request parameters. Rate limiting provides fine-grained control and mitigates application DDoS, especially when they're designed to target your backend applications or your database or your API endpoint. In fact, you can actually create very granular rate limiting rules for specific API endpoint. Like for example, you can say, well, I'm only going to mitigate attacks, rate limit a certain attack when there's post request or put request, for example. Our industry bot management solution uses machine learning based behavioral fingerprinting that allows you to detect and manage different bot traffic, including mitigating advanced persistent bot attack that's constantly evolving to avoid any of the basic detections mechanisms. We provide you the powerful capability to also create custom virtual patches to mitigate zero-day exploit using our custom rules. Now, this is a very important part that we're going to cover later on how you can actually use this couple of our dual WAF solutions to actually help you keep up with all of the zero-day exploits. And finally, our managed WAF rules provide some of the most comprehensive rule sets to protect you from OWASP top 10 and other applications attack categories. So for example, SQL injections, remote code execution, or cross-site scripting. You're being protected from those attacks. In addition though, it's not just that. Our managed WAF rule also provides application-specific rule sets. So if you're using WordPress, Drupal, or Apache struts, we have rules to protect those security vulnerability that's very specific to those applications. So let's go back to the original questions. How do you speed up your response time to the next zero-day attack? One of the most important capabilities that we provide that achieve high response time zero-day attack is to use Agile unique one-of-the-kind dual WAF modes. Dual WAF mode is a feature that essentially allows you to run two WAF concurrently for all your production traffic in the form of production WAF and audit WAF, right? So with our high-performance proprietary WAF engines, which is actually specifically designed to run two WAF at the same time, because our engine is like a stripped-down Formula One race car that's designed for high performance, right? You're getting two WAF for the cost of one when you use our solutions. And the production WAF protects you from your web applications by detecting and mitigating web attacks in real time, while the audit WAF, which is the one above this, right, lets you experiment with new rules or custom virtual patches using the same production traffic that's being protected by the production's WAF. So your dual WAF mode, you can constantly perform security updates without taking down your production's WAF. So you never have to worry about false positive causing service interruptions to your application. You can simply test any security updates, any new rules, any new virtual patches using audit WAF, while you let the production WAF blocks the attack and protect your applications. So when you're ready to go live after you've done enough analysis with your data, right, from your security updates, you simply promote the audit WAF that contains all of the security updates to productions and start blocking those new attacks that you observe when the audit WAF becomes the production WAF. And you can rinse and repeat this process constantly to detect and respond to new threats without any downtime in your protections, or really having to worry about like new false positive that's causing your organizations to respond slowly to zero days attack. A lot of organizations are very risk averse. They're worried about attacks, but they're more worried about causing downtime due to false positive. So sometimes this causes a lot of delays when it comes to really mitigating, having a good response time towards mitigating zero-day attacks. When it comes to mitigating any zero-day exploit, my opinion, speed is really the king here. Speed is the most important factor when it comes to responding to 0 days. This is probably obvious to a lot of you, right? With Agile dual WAF modes, it provides real-time predictive data for security updates using your production traffic with full sample size to help speed up your analysis. The predictive data also helps drive faster decisions from your end because you have full impact assessments from the data of the change, right? In terms of how many more attacks that you're detecting, how many more attacks that you're mitigating, as well as having the visibility on any potential false positive due to the change. With dual WAF and our ability to deploy any security rule change across a massive network in less than a minute, we make sure that you're able to respond quickly to any security incidents. So cyber attack comes in all shapes and sizes, and they're not always human. Well, I mean, sort of humans, right? For a typical website, there's a large amount of automated or bot traffic, and some of them could really create severe risk to your website as they perform malicious activities. So some of the malicious activities include credential stuffing, account takeover, content scraping, scanning, and etc. Right? These are potentially very serious activities that could potentially cause a lot of harm to your businesses, right? So it's very important to have visibility on how much of your traffic is from real user, how much of them are from bot. Agile provide industry-leading bot management capability that uses machine learning, behavioral fingerprinting to detect and categorize bot activities on your website. It lets you mitigate those malicious bot or through multiple means. It's very important to emphasize that all of this detection method happens on the server side, so we don't require you to inject JavaScripts or integrate SDK into your mobile applications or your websites. This really reduces the time to go from not having mitigations to having an ability to start having visibility as well as mitigations on all of that bot attack. As you can see from this example, more than 50% of the traffic to this website is not human. In fact, it's 51%. And there's significant amount of that bot attack here. You can see that there's a lot of web scraping. There's a lot of brute force credential stuffing of fake account creations, right? There's also like some amount of fake SEO bot being captured here. So Agile solutions really help mitigate this attack. And our machine learning platform, because we look at bot in terms of behavior, not just their static signatures, we're able to track and detect advanced persistent bot that's constantly evolving to try to avoid any signature-based detections. While it's important to have the solution and capability to mitigate 0 days attack, it's also important to have the right process and the security operations team to manage these solutions. Agile security solutions are built API first, and all the features can be self-service and self-managed. So you can DIY all of the security features that I just mentioned. However, we also provide flexible service model. If you do not have large security organizations, or you just prefer to have a more managed approach, Agile provide full range of managed security services to provide the security operations coverage that your organization needs. So if you just need an occasional technical advisory service or like routine security updates review, we provide security expert service to help keep you ahead of the threat landscape. If you need full 24/7 security white glove service to take on your day-to-day web security operations and the management of the security solutions, our Advanced Security Operations Center, or Advanced SOC as we call them, can help you achieve that goal. So having the right operating model, in my opinion, is very important. It's the key to success in keeping up with the ever-increasing 0 days incidences, right? 0 days incidents are growing exponentially. However, your organization may not be growing exponentially in terms of personnel. So you need to have the services as well as the processes that help you keep up with the exponential growth in the security vulnerabilities. So why is Agile security a better solution? I think it can be summed up in 4 major areas. Well, first of all, we have one of the largest edge platform in the world with more than 250 terabits per second to mitigate the largest attack. I think we've emphasized this multiple times during these presentations. Scale is not just important in terms of being able to absorb the attack, but it's also important for the performance of your websites, when you use our solutions. Our edge-enabled solutions ensures they have consistent performance globally by having presence distributed in multiple global regions. Right? Given our edge POP is close to the end user, we also are close to the attacker. So we're able to mitigate those attacks where they originated instead of waiting till it reaches your network. Now, secondly, we have the most complete security solutions on the market, from full spectrum network and application Ddos protections to web application and API protection, as well as advanced bot management. We are a one-stop shop for all of your web security needs. And thirdly, we have one of the largest service and support team in industries, and we provide flexible support for your organization's needs. So either you prefer to have a full self-service model or you require 24/7 managed security service, we provide options for every organization's need. And last but not least, I think this is the most important part that makes Agile security solutions special, is the way we design and execute our solutions. The way we put them together, it gives us a unique advantage over the rest of our competitions. Our dual WAF modes provide you with one-of-the-kind capability to have the fastest response time to 0 days vulnerability. Our solutions are built API first, and we provide real-time logging, real-time analytic, and real-time data to support security automations. And we can also support SIEM, security incidents, event management, as well as SOAR integrations for any sort of security automations your organization needs. And finally, our rapid config propagation time lets you deploy any security rule change in less than a minute across our global network of tens of thousands of servers. Here's a case study from one of our customers in the financial service industry, of fintech industry. Plus 500 is a large global trading platform that's based in Europe, and they use our web application and API protections to make sure that their trading platform is secure. So they have integrated Agile security solutions into their DevSecOps practices by using dual WAF modes and real-time logs streamings. With these solutions, they're able to get predictive data on all of their application changes across their network. Our security solutions allow them to effectively mitigate botnets, DDoS, and application attack in real time. Here's a quote from the former director of security for Plus 500, Idan Marshall. Idan said that Agile helps provide holistic insight into the application stack that he can't get anywhere else. And he was able to use our dual WAF modes to help reduce false positive before, during, and after the code release. So this allows him to move fast while also maintain proper security policy and keep up with the 0 days attacks. Here's a high-level overview of our entire security solutions suite to help your organization respond to 0 days web security vulnerability, as well as protect you from any other types of network and application attacks. Agile really provides the complete solution suite, all types of security needs your organization have, and to protect your web application and API so that you keep up with the latest threat landscape. Thank you for attending our webinar today. I hope you find it useful and look forward to having more discussion with your organization to help you achieve your security goal. Hope you have a nice day.
네, 리처드 유 디렉터의 설명 잘 들었습니다. 저는 방금 발표에서 2020년 이후 급격한 디지털화가 시작되면서 이로 인해 많은 기업과 개인들이 보안 취약점에 노출됐다는 점, 그리고 보안 취약점이 현재까지도 기하급수적으로 늘고 있다는 점이 좀 놀랐는데요. 게다가 보안 공격으로 인한 손실 금액이 무려 6조 달러, 하나로 하면 약 8,300조 원 정도라는 사실에 깜짝 놀랐습니다. 오늘 웨비나를 통해 이렇게 나날이 증가하는 제로데이 공격에 성공적으로 대응할 수 있는 방법과 또 에지오의 보안 통합 솔루션에 대해 알아볼 수 있어 매우 좋은 시간이었다고 생각이 듭니다. 그런데 제가 강연을 듣다 보니까 몇 가지 좀 궁금한 게 생겼는데요. 우선 현재 여러 산업들이 직면하고 있는 사이버 보안은 어떤 것이 있으며 기업들은 이러한 보안 위협을 어떻게 하면 헤쳐나갈 수 있을까요?
위협 환경은 새로운 기술과 공격 채널의 도입으로 끊임없이 변화하고 있습니다. 최근 몇 년간 가장 두드러진 보안 위협은 제로데이 애플리케이션 익스플로이트, 계정 남용, 디도스 및 랜섬웨어입니다. 기업이 사이버 보안 인식과 프로그램에 익숙해지기 시작함에 따라서 사이버 위협을 예방할 뿐만 아니라 탐지 및 대응할 수 있는 솔루션과 보안 기능에 대한 적절한 투자가 중요하겠지요. 제로데이 취약점에 대응할 때 취약점이 악용되는지 확인할 수 있는 가시성 확보와 이를 신속하게 완화할 수 있는 능력을 발전시켜 나가야 합니다. 마지막으로 이러한 보호 조치가 서로를 보완하고 사이버 보안의 운영 효율성을 개선할 수 있도록 모든 애플리케이션 보호, 봇 관리 및 디도스 공격을 보호하는 전체적인 솔루션을 보유하는 것이 가장 중요한 솔루션이 되겠습니다.
네, 답변 감사합니다. 두 번째 질문은 조금 복잡할 수도 있겠는데요. 이렇게 빠르게 변화하는 위협에 직면하는 우리 기업은 어떻게 사이버 탄력성을 구축할 수가 있을까요? 그리고 산업이 5G로 이동하면서 더 큰 위협이 예상될까요? 아니면 사이버 위협의 숫자나 규모가 줄어들까요?
네, 사이버 보안의 유일한 불변은 아이러니하게도 변화입니다. 이것이 바로 올바른 솔루션을 가는 것 이외에도 조직의 올바른 문화를 설정하여 끊임없는 변화를 예측하고 대응할 준비가 되어 있는 이유입니다. 사이버 위협을 예방하는 것 이외에도 새로운 위협에 대한 탐지 및 대응에 투자하는 것도 중요합니다. 올바른 솔루션, 기능 및 프로세스가 있으면 모든 제로데이 이벤트가 평범한 하루가 될 수 있겠지요. 산업이 5G로 이동하면 더 큰 위협이 될 것으로 예상합니다. 5G는 스마트 장치의 적극적인 도입을 장려하고 IoT 기술의 촉매가 될 것이기 때문입니다. 디바이스 수준에서 데이터를 처리하는 용량의 증가는 앞서 리차드가 언급한 것과 같은 대규모 디도스 공격이 표준이 되는 시대를 열어줄 것입니다.
네, 그러면 마지막 질문이 되겠는데요. 오늘 리차드 디렉터가 디도스 공격에 대해서 설명을 해주셨는데요. 디도스 공격으로부터 이커머스 비즈니스를 보호할 수 있는 에지오만의 팁이 있다면 어떤 게 있을까요?
이커머스 비즈니스는 전체적인 웹 애플리케이션과 네트워크 인프라가 보호되도록 보안 솔루션에 대한 전체적인 접근 방식을 취하는 것이 좋습니다. 중요한 인프라, 예를 들어서 DNS 시스템이 되겠죠. 이런 인프라가 보호되고 있는지 확인을 해야 합니다. 특히 이 부분은 고도로 이중화된 글로벌 DNS 네트워크를 사용하여 공격에 대한 대응력과 고가용성을 보장하는 것이 가장 좋습니다. 에지오는 신뢰성 있는 애니캐스트 네트워크에 세계에서 가장 크고 성능이 뛰어난 Authoritative DNS 서비스 중 하나를 제공하여 사용자가 언제 어디서나 고객의 웹사이트를 찾을 수 있도록 합니다. 두 번째로는 모든 이커머스 웹사이트, 애플리케이션 및 API가 최소 150TB의 처리량과 글로벌 커버리지로 확장성이 뛰어난 엣지 네트워크에서 제공되고 있는지 확인합니다. 이는 공용 인터넷에서 자사 온라인 인프라를 찾기 어렵게 하여 공격자가 엣지 네트워크를 거치지 않고 직접 접근할 수 없도록 합니다. 세 번째로는 애플리케이션 디도스 공격의 위력을 과소평가하지 말아야 합니다. 네트워크 디도스는 무차별 유입을 통해 네트워크에 혼선을 주게 됩니다. 애플리케이션 또는 레이어 7 디도스 공격은 애플리케이션 백엔드, 예를 들어 데이터베이스의 가장 취약한 부분을 대상으로 하는 정밀한 공격입니다. 따라서 세분화된 L7, 레이어 7 디도스 보호 룰을 사용하여 웹, 솔루션을 구현하여 애플리케이션 백엔드에 대한 공격을 완화하는 것도 중요합니다. 에지오는 실시간으로 레이어 7 디도스를 방어하는 촘촘한 레이트 리미팅 제어 기능으로 가장 완벽하고 강력한 애플리케이션 보안 솔루션을 제공합니다. 뿐만 아니라 보안에 대한 다운타임 없이 위협 대응 정책을 최신 상태로 유지할 수 있도록 하는 이중 웹 모드를 제공하고 있습니다. 마지막으로 이커머스 회사는 운영에 문제없는 연중 무휴 보안 운영팀이 필요합니다. 자체 보안 운영팀을 구축하는 것은 어려운 일이 될 수 있습니다. 따라서 공급 업체가 사내 전문 지식을 제공하는지 확인하고 보안 운영을 따라갈 수 있도록 도와줄 수 있는 서비스 팀을 활용하는 것이 좋습니다. 에지오는 모범 사례 및 프로세스를 구현하는데 도움이 되는 보안 솔루션 설계자와 전문가 서비스 팀을 제공할 뿐만 아니라 일상적인 보안 작업을 완벽하게 처리할 수 있는 24/7, 즉 연중 무휴 관리형 보안 운영 센터를 제공하고 있습니다.
네, 이렇게 궁금한 점들을 풀어가다 보니 벌써 마칠 시간이 되었는데요. 웨비나를 통해 해결되지 않는 궁금한 점은 이메일을 주시면 자세하게 설명드릴 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 질문 남겨주실 이메일 주소는 채팅창에 남겨드리도록 하겠습니다. 더불어 설문 응답자 중 추첨을 통해 100분께 스타벅스 커피 쿠폰을 전달해 드리고요. 좋은 질문 남겨주신 분들도 10분 추첨해서 고급 텀블러, 그리고 대면 상담을 신청해 주신 10분께는 고급 골프우산을 선물로 드리도록 하겠습니다. 부담 없이 대면 상담 요청 부탁드리고요. 설문조사도 적극적인 참여를 부탁드리도록 하겠습니다. 네, 이것으로 오늘 준비된 에지오 웨비나를 모두 마치도록 하겠습니다. 시청해주신 여러분 고맙습니다.